Okay, another time to start. Thank you for joining us today for a webinar by MBix. My name is Aoki from MBix, and I will be a moderator of this session. Today, we will report on the latest developments in the Vietnamese chemical regulation, which have been frequently amended in recent years. I hope this webinar will help you understand an overall picture of the regulations. Before the presentations, let me briefly introduce MBix. MBix is a research and consulting company established in Tokyo, Japan in 1994, specializing in global environmental policy and regulation. We have been continuing to collect regulatory information globally and provide our clients with updated information every day. We target more than 50 countries in many different languages around the world. We also cover a wide range of environmental fields, not only what is currently referred to as EHS, but
Mr. Aoki, please
yes?
share the slide.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry to forget the sharing our slide. This slide shows our company's business slide. So we target more than 50 countries like this. And our target is more than 20 areas of EHS areas. So we keep track of the latest developments around the world in the environment areas, and our staff analyze and reports on the content to our clients. The company that use our annual contract service are many Japanese companies, including more than 150 global companies in the automotive, electronics, and chemical sectors. So we have many in-house experts in analyzing the regulation in various countries. In this webinar, we would like to report the current situations in chemical regulation in Vietnam with Mr. Dinton Nier, a specialist in EHS and chemicals in their country. So please note that this webinar has no Q&A session. So Mr. Nier, please give us your presentation.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Mr. Aoki. Hello, everyone. My name is Ding Tan Ye, the Associate Senior Researcher from the Survey and Consulting Department of NVIX. I'm very happy and thanks to all of you today to participate and give me a chance to talk today about the theme overview and updates of chemical regulations in Vietnam. Okay, my content of my my presentation today, we have four sections. The chemical regulations in Vietnam, amendment of Decree 113 in 2017, and new regulations on pop substances and future development of chemical compliance in Vietnam. Okay, next slide. Okay, in session one, I would like to talk about the chemical regulation in Vietnam. First, in Vietnam, many competent authorities are involved in the chemical management. Among them, Vietnam Chemical Agency, Vinachemia of Ministry of Industry and Trade, MOIT, is a central competent authority in chemical management in Vietnam. This organization plays a major role in chemical regulations, including law on chemicals and its subordinate legislation. It is responsible for production, import, export, trading, management of chemical accidents, existing chemical list, and new chemical substances. Okay, beside MOIT, some other authorities, such as the Ministry of Natural Resource and Environment, MONRE, Ministry of Public Health, MOH, and Ministry of Labor, Social Affairs, MOLISA, also play an important role in enactment of regulation relating to chemical. Okay, about MONRE. MONRE is in charge of environmental accidents, environmental pollution, ozone depleting substances, or ODS, and particularly the Stockholm Convention, which manage pulp substances and pulp containing products. These are also new regulations in Vietnam that I would like to focus on in my presentation today, besides the law on chemicals. Regarding the other authorities, MOH manages EC and disinfectant chemicals and chemical exposure at the workplace. MOLISA is preparing technical standards for using hazardous substances on labor, occupational safety, and health. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, next, regarding the law system on chemical management, I would like to introduce you the three most important regulations. First, the law on chemicals is the most fundamental law of chemical management in Vietnam, which regulates production, trading, use, chemical safety, chemical information, and responsibilities of competent authorities. It was enacted in 2007 and came into force in 2008. Next is the Decree 113 in 2017 on guidelines for implementing certain articles of the law on chemicals. This decree regulates detailed requirements for various chemical lists on license, classification, plans, measures for chemical incidents, safety training, declaration, etc. Next, Circular 32 in 2017 on guidelines for implementing certain articles of the law on chemicals and Decree 113. This circular regulates forms and guidelines for labeling, MSDS, declaration, reports, license application, plans, measures, etc. At present, the law on chemicals has exposed various problems during its implementation over past 14 years. Therefore, amendments of the law have been proposed by the Vietnamese government now, which I would like to discuss this content in my presentation at the final section. Meanwhile, the subordinated regulations such as Decree 113 and Circular 32 were amended and supplemented by the government MOIT last year to ensure that the Vietnam compliance with international convention and related rules. And I would like to share updated information and amendments and supplementation in session 2. Okay, the law system in Vietnam is quite complicated. While the law on chemicals mainly focus on industrial chemicals, there are also many other laws and regulations relating to management of chemicals that are not based on the law on chemicals. And most of them are implemented by other authority, not MOIT. For example, the regulation on industrial precursors, explosives, ozone depleting substances, pulp substances, etc. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, to have an overall look at the system of Vietnam chemical-related regulations, besides the law on chemicals, I also mentioned the law on environmental protection, which was also fully revised in 2020 and came into force in 2022 with the enactment of many subordinated decrees and circulars promoted by MONRE. Besides environmental management, decree number 8 and circular Number two, also regulated the management of POPs, and POPs include products. And decree number 6 and circular number 1 regulated the management of greenhouse gas and ozone depleting substances, ODS. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, here I would like to share with you some basic definitions of chemical production, chemical trade, and new chemicals. These definitions are very important to understand the regulation in Vietnam. Okay, let's go to from a chemical. The definition of chemical is substances or a mixture created by humans from natural or artificial raw materials. And chemical productions is an act of producing chemicals through chemical reaction or biochemical or physiochemical processes such as extraction, concentration, dilution and mixture, and other physiochemical processes. And chemical trade include sale, export, import chemicals to provide chemicals on the market for profitable purposes. And one of the important definition is new chemical. Is the last one. A new chemical is not yet listed in the National Chemical Inventory or NCI of foreign chemical inventories recognized by Vietnamese by Vietnamese government. Due to not having many recent updates on the Vietnam NCI now, so today I would like not to talk much about the current circumstances of Vietnam NCI. As you can see from the definition, chemical regulation in Vietnam mainly target on substances and mixtures, and only a little on chemicals in products. Okay. Next slide, please. Okay, this table shows the list of chemicals and requirements such as certificates, licenses, declarations, and other documents needed for each type of chemical. Most of the list are shown in annexes of the Decree 113. They are conditional industrial chemicals in Annex 1, restricted industrial chemicals in Annex 2, prohibited chemicals in Annex 3, hazardous chemical requiring incident prevention and response plan in Annex 4, and declared chemicals in Annex 5, and others hazardous chemical, toxic chemical, and industry precursors. Okay, for importers of chemicals into Vietnam, if they import declared chemicals, they must conduct a declaration on national single window system before custom clearance to or apply to obtain a license for import or export for the case of industrial precursors. If the companies import conditional or restricted chemicals and trade them in Vietnam market, they must besides the declaration, they must obtain certificates or licenses for production and trading those chemicals. Actually, I want to show here that the chemical list was revised and amended in 2022, and I will talk in detail in the next session regarding the amendment of Decree 113. Okay, next slide, please. Here, I would like to explain more detail about the relations of restricted, conditional, and declared chemicals. Restricted chemicals, okay, all hazardous chemicals with the highest hazard level Yeah, I mean that restricted chemicals has the highest hazard level. In importation into Vietnam, conditional and restricted chemicals must be declared on the national single window system before custom clearance. Next, how to distinguish the hazardous chemicals and toxic chemicals? According to the globally harmonized system of classification and labeling of chemicals, or GHS, hazardous chemicals are defined as substances that can cause physiochemical, health, and environmental effects. However, toxic chemicals are included in hazardous chemicals, which can cause health and environmental effect during exposure. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, to have more understand more about the total system of chemical list in Vietnam, I would like to show you this slide. Okay, the overall chemical inventory NCI includes hazardous and non-hazardous chemicals. As mentioned in the previous slide, the toxic chemicals are included in hazardous chemicals. And next are conditional chemicals and restricted chemicals. As you can see here, a part of conditional chemical are toxic chemical, but with a higher hazard level, and all restricted chemicals are toxic chemicals. Okay, next, a small part of toxic chemical is prohibited chemicals, and declared chemicals conclude conditional chemicals and restricted chemicals. And the other list, such as hazardous chemicals, requiring incident prevention and response plans, and industrial precursors. As you can see here in this slide, the relations of chemicals lists are pretty complicated and many lists overlap. Therefore, one chemical substance is needed to comply with many different requirements. Okay, next, I would like to move to session 2. I would like to introduce about the amendment of Decree 113. And Decree 113 was amended by Decree 82 and Circular 17th last year, which was officially promulgated in October and came into force in December of 2020. And companies, particularly the importers, must notice many amended and supplemented points. And I want to summarize here from A to K, but I would like to explain about A, B, C, D, E, F. It's the main amendment point of Decree 113. And first, I would like to focus on point A, B, and C in this slide. The chemical list in Vietnam have been updated according to international convention. For example, regarding point A, there are 16 substances of basic chemicals and precursors are added to the list of conditional chemicals in Annex 1. And regarding point B, the following 6 substances subject to the Stockholm Convention are added to the list of restricted chemicals in Annex 2. The problem here is that some of the additional substances in Annex 2, for example, the BDE or PFOA, are also subject to persistent organic pollutants or POPs that regulated in the law on environmental protection with the other requirements for importation. I would like to explain these 2 types of regulation in session 3 of my presentation. Regarding point C, the Vietnamese government is now strictly strengthening the management of some restricted chemicals such as nitrous oxide, cyanide, mercury, and mercury compounds. The importers of those substances must show a license for trading of restricted chemicals during custom clearance. Okay, next, I would like to explain about point D, E, and F. Okay, next slide, please. Regarding to point D, chemical products are not subject to degree 113. Actually, this point has also been regulated in degree 17 in 2020 and is restated in degree 82, particularly trading of some chemical products such as building materials, paints, printing ink, household adhesives, and cleaning products. They does not require certificates and license to product and trade or import of declared chemicals and or industrial precursors. And next, regarding point E, a new regulation on cutoff values for mixtures, which was not specified in degree 113, but has been established in degree number 82. This is quite important amended point. Hazardous chemical mixtures include component substances with a content below 0.1% in the list of conditional chemicals, restricted chemical, or declared chemicals. They are not required certificates or license of production and trading or import of chemicals. Okay, next, regarding point F, certificates or license for production and trading of conditional or restricted chemicals have no expiration before revision. But after Decree 82 and Circular 17 were promulgated in last year, 2022, the license for restricted chemical shall be 5 years. However, regarding pop substances, it could be more complicated because the expiration date of license is based on the period of exemption registration regulated in the law on environmental protection. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, regarding other amended point, I would like not to discuss here. We also explain in detail at in Reliance Asia. We would like to introduce this website service in the last session after my presentation. Next, let's move to session 3. I would like to talk about new regulations on pulp substances. In 2022, the Vietnamese system regulatory in environmental field has been thoroughly revised, and the law on environmental protection and decree number 8 guiding this law came into force in January 2022. And the article number 38 to 41 of this decree regulates the management of POPs during production, use, import, and labeling. In detail, importers of these 8 types of POP substances must apply for exemption registration to the Ministry of Natural Resources and Environment, or MONRE, to obtain an approval notice of exemption registration from the authority and present it during custom clearance. Additionally, the quantity and name of POP substances per lot must be reported to MONRE and the General Department of Vietnam Customs. From this point, what I would like to mention, We can understand that importers of pop substances into Vietnam must comply with the requirements of both the law on chemicals and the law on environmental protection. Okay, please notice that there is also a new national technical standard or QCVN on POPs that is under development by Monre. Therefore, in the future, producer and importers of POPs shall be required to conduct conformity assessment, and the labeling for POPs containing products must also comply with this technical standard. Okay, let's move to the last topic. I would like to talk about the future development of chemical compliance, focusing on problems of current regulation and amendment of the law on chemicals. As I told in the beginning of my presentation, the law on chemicals was legislated in 2007, meaning that over 14 years of implementation. There are many problems with this law and related regulations. Actually, the decrees guiding this law have been also revised several times, but the basic law has remained the same. Since last year, 2022, the law on chemicals has been under overall revision by the authority. There has not been a draft at the moment of the new law, but according to the information from authority, the revised law on chemicals is planned to promulgate in next year, 2024, and come into force in 2025. Okay, next slide, please. And here I would like to share in detail some of the problems of the law on chemicals in Vietnam. Here I would like to share you some points. For example, the lack of clear definitions of chemical substances and product, and the limitation of chemical management in various lists of chemical substances. Some lists are excess or deficient. Many lists overlap to each other, as you can see in the slide I showed you before. And the others, the functions of various authorities are duplicated, and it is difficult to clarify the responsibility, particularly in the management of dual-use chemicals. And no emphasis on chemical security relating to management of dual-use chemicals for the ban on chemical weapons production, and no guidance on the safety of production, trading, use, storage, transportation, and distance of chemicals. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, at present, according to MOIT, the authority announced that the amendment point by the new law would focus on these 4 policy groups. The policy 1 is a sustainable development of chemical industry as a fundamental and modern industry. The policy 2 is the management of chemical life cycle, and policy 3 is the management of hazardous chemicals in products. Policy 4 is improving the effectiveness of chemical safety management. I'm now looking forward to updating further information about amendments of law on chemicals and related chemicals. And thank you very much for your attention. And we would like to move to the last session today.
Okay, thank you very much, Nia, for the presentation. To all the participants, please answer your rating with today's webinar from the questionnaire displayed on your screen. From now, I would like to conclude by introducing our company's service, Ambiliance. As I mentioned at the beginning of today, since its establishment in 1994, MBX has been collecting information and reporting on environment and chemical regulations from across the globe. Our services have been provided only in Japanese so far, but we have launched a new service, that is Embarance here. Embarance provides information on Asian regulation in English. As you know, in Asian region, its language often differ from the country to country, and government statements by each country are often not announced in English, making it difficult to collect and analyze such information. Therefore, MBX has launched Embarance based on our 30 years of experience in this field. The regulatory area covered by Embarance is a wide range of environmental regulations. We cover not only chemical regulation, but also product-related regulations such as EPR, energy labels, and plastic restriction. And also, Embarance reports on updated information in EHS regulations relating to factory operations. For almost every day, we provide a summary report of a new regulation published or revised in each country. In addition, basic information on regulation in each country and in-depth reports on each regulatory topic are also available. Furthermore, Embarance features not only publicly available information, but also reports compiled by local experts. For example, reports on China are written by national environmental policy experts from the School of Environment at Tsinghua University. And reports on Thailand are written by officials from the Ministry of Natural Resources and Environment. In addition, MS also provides information obtained through our interviews conducted by our staff members and reports from seminars held locally. Recently, Mr. Nier participated in a seminar organized by the Hanoi Department of Trade and Industry on enforcement for chemical regulation and reported the content of the seminar and its Q&A session in Embarance. Please check it. So as well as an article reports on publicly available government information, there's also a lot of information that only Embarance can provide. Here, Embarance are available for an annual subscription base with cost varying in the number of users. Orders can be placed through the Embarance website. If you are interested, please enter your email address at the end of the questionnaire we will send you later. Our staff will get back to you. Okay, that concludes today's presentation. The next free webinar is scheduled for this November. If you have a sign up for Emirates free newsletter, you will receive an email invitation. So please register if you have not already. Thank you for listening today. Bye.